What really interests me about what Patterson is doing is that I think it's at the forefront of a very different approach to education. It's an approach to education that doesn't see school and learning as separate from the community, as separate from the experience of life, but as integral to that life and as connected to other parts of our community and other parts of our lives. I think one of the problems that we have is that when we give kids problems to solve in school, we usually give them problems that are, in a single discipline, perfectly defined and have one right answer. But those aren't real problems. No one gets a problem. I've never had a problem. I haven't had a problem like that in 35 years. The problems that you get, they don't come to you as math problems or science problems. They come to you as just big honking problems, usually poorly defined, usually with multiple possible answers. But those are interesting problems, and the more that young people can see those kinds of interesting problems and see what professionals in other fields are doing, the more I think that they'll say, wow, that's actually really challenging. That's so much more interesting than in this kind of carefully packaged problem that I'm getting in school. By connecting with either whether it's cultural institutions or community groups, they can say, whoa, there's some interesting issues out there, and these are the things that I really like to grapple with. Not in spite of their being challenging, but because they're challenging and much more challenging and complex than what I'm getting in school. I think Sarasota, in large part because of the Patterson Foundation, is doing an incredible job of linking schools with the rest of the community. And I think that should probably be intensified. And how do you do that? I think it's worth bringing people in. I think what would be interesting, let me give you a concrete idea here. For instance, young people are looking for relevance. And so why not have a science class or a math class where you bring somebody in from a local company and say, hey, this is how algebra or trigonometry or something applied to what I'm doing here. I'm making hydraulic parts, and I've got this company that makes hydraulic parts. And actually to do this, you actually have to know something about algebra. You actually have to know something about physics. And I think bringing community members in. I think that for the kids who are more artistically inclined, having artists and musicians come into the school and say, hey, I've made a life out of being an artist or a musician. It isn't simply this frivolous thing that you do. It's not only a side project, that you can actually lead a healthy, successful life doing these kinds of things. And so it's really, I think this integration of the school and the rest of the community, it strikes me as a no-brainer. It strikes me as so valuable for the students, but also valuable for the community. And I also think it gives people in the community a better sense of what's going on in schools. There are a lot of people who are voting on tax levies, who are voting for legislators, who are making education policy, who haven't been in a classroom for 30 years. And I think that limits our ability to make good education policy. And the more we bring people in from the community to see what's going on in our schools, to visit our classrooms, the more I think they'll come away with a sense of the heroism that teachers are displaying, and also get a sense of what school is really like today, and when we'll resist some of these simple-minded solutions that we're often peddling.